About 15 years ago in 2000, the Rock Hill Junior Welfare League sponsored a Child Watch program where they took folks on tours throughout the county to see the different programs available for children. That evolved, with the support of the Junior Welfare League and all the school districts in the county and others, into what was called Success by Six. Some of you may have heard of Success by Six. It's a national program sponsored by the United Way. And as its name implies, its purpose is to get children ready for school, to get them to succeed by 6, to help them healthy and ready to learn by the time they're 6 years old when they enter the school system. We started out as a Success by 6 franchise sponsored by the United Way. We became so successful with the number of programs we were helping to run that we sort of outgrew the United Way. And so with their blessing and support, the United Way of York County, we created a separate organization, the Early Learning Partnership of York County, as a separate 501c3 tax-exempt corporation in 2005. And we've been operating independently for about 6 years. You have a sheet in front of you that describes our programs. We operate and run a range of literacy programs and health programs. Our literacy programs are Born to Read, which visits all new mothers at Piedmont Medical Center and provides them with a list of services and information about services they can seek for parenting. Also gives them a book for their child. Reach Out and Read is a similar national literacy program that puts books in children's offices so that for every well visit a child comes to in the early years of life, he or she receives a free book. And then there's the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, by far our biggest program and probably the one that's most well known because of the indefatigable talents of Dolly Parton and all she's done. It's a national program, and it provides a book in the mailbox of every child under 6 in the county every month. So by the time the child is 5 years old, they'll have 60 books. It has Dolly's name on it. It has Dolly's picture on it. Dolly does not buy those books. We buy those books, and we provide them to the children of York County. It's a very successful program for us. Those are our 3 literacy programs. We also, in conjunction with each of the school districts, help coordinate a network of family resource centers. You're sitting in one now here in Clover. This is a Clover School District building. Nina and her staff and her folks are Clover School District employees, but Teresa Creech, who you see back there, who's our community liaison, works with all of the parenting coordinators in all 4 school districts to help coordinate the services that those resources provide, to give families, especially families of young children, the support they need to raise healthy children who are ready to enter school. And each one of these districts, each one of these resource centers has a medical clinic in it, a free medical clinic for children, supported with grants from the Duke Foundation and the Sisters of Mercy Foundation in Charlotte. And each one of those clinics is operated and staffed by physicians who give their time every week, and 2 paid employees who give their time every week to help the children of this county find a medical home, and when necessary, to refer those children to medical specialists to provide volunteer care. So that network of resource centers, that constellation of literacy programs and related programs to provide support to families of young children is what we do. It's who we are. What is more important to us, and what we really want to get out our message about, is why we are. Why do we do what we do? Why are we so passionate, our staff, our board members, our friends, about helping children succeed in the earliest years of life? We are fortunate to live in a place with a lot of blessings. Our quality of life is high, our schools are strong, our neighbors are friendly. I think all of us enjoy being here, we enjoy raising our families here. But many of our citizens, and particularly many of our children, face a lot of challenges. In York County alone, for the last year in which data was available, 18% of our children live below the poverty line. And that's not much, y'all. That's $20,000 for a family of 4. 39% of the children in York County were born to single mothers. And of those single mothers, 18% of them did not graduate, did not have a high school education. And we know, the social science tells us time and time again, that children who are born in poverty, children who are born and grow up in single-parent homes, children whose families did not have a high school education are much more likely to face crippling challenges by the time they come to school. These are the challenges that we all face. We know they're here, they're real, and even in a county as blessed as York County, in a community as blessed as Clover, which, as we all know, it does better than a lot of counties in South Carolina as a whole, we still have these challenges here. And when you hear these challenges, you can have a range of responses to them. Some people will say, look, they're all our children, we have a moral imperative to help all of them. And other folks, quite reasonably, will say, we can't possibly help all of them. We only have limited resources and limited funds, and people need to focus on their own families and helping their own families stay healthy, And if people would just do that, we'd be fine. We can't possibly take care of everyone. Our purpose here is not to try to resolve that debate, which is in some ways political. Our purpose here this morning is to tell you there's a way out of that debate without really having to have it when children are involved. And to tell you that story, I'd like to tell you the story of two men named David Weichert and Charles Beatty. David Weichert grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. He went off to war, and then he became a school psychologist in the Ypsilanti, Michigan Public School District. Charles Beatty almost made the Olympic team in 1936, but he missed the last hurdle and fell. And so he went on to become the first African-American principal in the Ypsilanti, Michigan School District, and a famed educator in that area. And Charles Beatty was the principal at Perry Elementary School back in 1960. And he noticed that a lot of children from the poorer, more disadvantaged neighborhoods of his school district were coming to school behind. They didn't know their colors, they didn't know their alphabet, they couldn't do what lots of other children could do, and guess what? They fell behind. They couldn't get on the right reading level, they fell behind progressively, a lot of them eventually dropped out of school. And Charles Beatty said, we need to do something about this. Well, David Weichert was a school psychologist, and he was noticing the same thing. And the two of them got together with some other educators in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and they said, we need to try to find a way to fix this problem, try to help these children succeed by the time they get here. So they took 125, and they were very scientific about it. They took 125 children of preschool age, 3 and 4 years old, and they divided them up into two groups, and they crafted a curriculum, a high-quality preschool curriculum offered by trained educators to these children, and then they put social workers who would visit the children's homes from time to time and make sure they were getting the services at home that they needed to keep their families strong. And half the children got all these services, and half did not, because they wanted to measure the success of their programs on the group that got the services and the control group that did not. This was before Head Start, which didn't start till 1965. So these were really the first people in the country who were trying to systematically study the challenge of children who were behind when they got to school and the challenge of creating strategies that helped those children succeed. Now, if we'd stopped right there, if my story ended there, it would be noteworthy that these folks got together, identified a problem, and tried to come up with a scientific, thoughtful solution to address that problem. But what these gentlemen did, what made them path-breaking, and the reason we hear about them time and time again if you do even the skimpiest of internet searches, is they measured what they did. They measured what they did when the children were 5 and 15 and 20 and 25 and 30 and 40. And what they discovered by measuring these children up to age 40 is that of the children who participated in the program, 44% of them were more likely to graduate. 46% were less likely to go to jail. They had a 42% higher median income. They had a 26% less reliance on welfare programs and government assistance. One of the most challenged, disadvantaged, poorest populations in Ypsilanti, Michigan. And then they went to the second stage of this study, and they had an economist quantify all of the benefits of these programs in several different ways. They had an economist who said, okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out what are the benefits to the participants themselves in the form of higher salaries and better education. We're going to quantify that. And then we're going to take that one step further, and we're going to quantify the benefit to society in the form of fewer jail costs, because folks aren't in jail as much, fewer hospital visits, fewer welfare programs and government assistance programs to the children who have become self-sufficient. And the number they found, which has been corroborated several times, was pretty astonishing. For every dollar that was invested in these children, for every dollar that was invested in education when they were 3 and 4 years old, $17 came out. Where else can you get, if my math is right, a 1,700% return on your investment from children who are 3 and 4 years old? Now, this is not new news, right? Frederick Douglass, almost 100 years ago, said it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. Frederick Douglass knew what Charles Beatty knew long before Charles Beatty did. But to put the science on it and numbers on it, that's why we do what we do. Because supporting children at their earliest possible years is not only the right decision, it's not only the moral imperative, it's the smart decision. By investing in these children early, by getting to them early and giving them the support that they and their families need, can help them succeed later in life. I'll give you a statistic that's on your sheet and that should resonate much more loudly for you in York County. One of our board members is Weta Dest. Some of you may know Weta. Weta is the member of the York County Solicitor's Office, who is dedicated to the prosecution of juvenile crime. She is the juvenile crime prosecutor in the York County Solicitor's Office. And the figure that she gave, but by the way, she's the one who told me what Frederick Douglass said. That's how I got that quote from Weichert. And she should know better than anybody, because what she tells us is, as is said on your sheet, in the years since Bright Beginnings, where you're sitting right now, and the other family resource centers throughout York County have been established, in roughly the decade since those programs have come online and begun to work together to ensure successful programs for children, juvenile crime in York County has dropped by 40%. Now that may be a coincidence. I don't think so. And Weichert doesn't think so. And what that shows is that York County is making an enormous difference in the lives of children. Now this is not easy and it's not cheap. You can't just have anybody walk off the street and provide these services. You have to have dedicated employees like Nina Feemster and volunteers like Teresa Creech and people who really study these issues and know early childhood education and are trained to do it and are approaching it in a thoughtful way. And you have to have the kind of school board members you have here and the superintendent like Mark Sosney who are going to continually support those efforts and support those programs. But when you do, when you have these people and when you have this kind of facility and when you have these kinds of programs, the kind of success you get is a 40% drop in juvenile crime. The kind of success you get is $17 for every dollar you invest. That's why we're so passionate about what we do. That's why we're here. That's why we want you to know about the programs that your school district is providing in conjunction with the other school districts in this community. Don't just take my word for it. I don't have them here with me this morning, and I regret that, but if you've left your email address, we'll send it to you. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce did a study recently called Ready, Set, Go, in which they cited much of the same data I've given you this morning, and they concluded that the best way to build a strong, healthy, powerful economic workforce in this country is to invest in early childhood education. It's a no-brainer for the Chamber of Commerce. It's a no-brainer for Charles Beatty and David Weichert. It was a no-brainer for Frederick Douglass almost 100 years ago. We want you to see more about what we're doing. We want you to stay in touch with us. We appreciate your coming, and we'll keep sending you our newsletters and updates. I think now, Julie, we might need to break up in a couple of groups to do this, but Nina and some other folks are going to take you on a tour of our medical clinic and show you some of the other programs we offer here. Thank you again so much for coming. We appreciate your support, and we hope to be able to continue working with you and talking to you.